Hey there, vibers and gardeners alike. Thanks for tuning in to this channel's 150th video. And today's video is actually going to be in and amongst two different topics, but related, of course. So let's get into it. So here I've got my indoor herb garden going. As you can tell, quite a few different things are doing fairly well. This, of course, not so great, but we're going to get into that in a moment. But the first thing this video is about will be transplanting some of this, because as you can tell, some of it is actually starting to overgrow their pots. But another thing I wanted to get into were these white spots I've got on some of my herbs. So I wanted to show a few different other signs I'm having here, because you might be able to tell I've got really dry dirt here, and that's gonna come into the video in a minute. So I think my first step here before diagnosing this with y'all is going to give everything a quick watering, so then that way at least they can have a quick drink before I start transplanting some of these, so then it's a little less of a shock to the plant. But another sign I wanted to bring up to you is if you look over here on my basil plants, you'll notice that there's almost a dryness to them. Like some of them are starting to scorch a bit, kind of curl a bit, dry up. So that's going to come into play as well. So keep that in mind. I'm going to give these all a quick watering before I transplant them. And then while I'm waiting for this to soak up the water, I'm going to kind of go through a few things that might be causing this. Um, and then by the end of the video, hopefully you'll have a better understanding of what this could be if this happens to you. I'll get back to you in a minute. But let's suppose I didn't suspect that it was environmental, because I'm pretty sure it is, in the sense of having dry soil. I've had the heater on and off, but I also haven't watered as much as I should be, so it's a good thing these herbs are going as strong as they are. But what if it wasn't that? What are some other things you can use to possibly help figure out if it's possibly the mildew or if it's pest related? Um, One thing you can look for is will the white spots rub off? Because if it does, that could be a sign that it's mildew or possibly certain pests. So let's check that out. So I've given everything a quick watering, and I still have a few white spots here that if I wipe them, they don't come off very easily. I can still see spots sticking around after wiping them, but it's coming off a bit. So, I mean, that could be a sign of mildew, but I'm thinking it's still more dry conditions, to be honest with you. But, you know, give it a little longer and we'll see if I can actually fix these. So, something I meant to mention in my previous clip, evolving, spots, is that it could also be, it could be environmental. It could be certain chemicals in your water, or it could be, certain chemicals in your area that happen to be on the leaves, for example. Um, like a kind of example of this, and it wouldn't relate to gardening, but in the winter time, since it's winter time, when you're outside for long enough walking around and you get those salt spots on your shoes, your boots from the road salt, those white patches all over your shoes or whatever, especially with certain materials. That's kind of an example of what could be causing those white spots, which is another reason I think they're wiping off, but that it's not mildew. That's the reason I think it's leaning towards more environmental opposed to having some kind of a mildew. But I mean, you could try switching to filtered water or maybe a less intense light, bring it away from the light if you think it's light related, or obviously in my case, try watering your plants a bit more. I'm sure that's going to help, right? So let's get into the second section of the video where we start transplanting. Some obvious signs that it might be pests, however, for example, is if you actually find the pest eggs, etc., any type of webbing that might be related to such bugs, you know what I mean? Uh, and another thing that might be related to the mildew is if it's a white, fluffy type of consistency, or so I've read. Just other signs, right? Hey guys, so sorry about the horrible view here. I don't exactly have a holder for the phone I'm filming this on. I don't exactly have a grow table in here to make this any easier to film. So it's gonna be a weird shot, but I still wanted to bring you along for this. Guess I'm not exactly set up for YouTube, but as you can tell here, I've gotten my soil. I've just gotten ready here, and then I've gotten the basil that I wanted to start transplanting. I've got a few other things I've got to get done today, so I'm not going to go through the whole process of every single herb for this video. For right now, I'm kind of giving you a rough around, but this is my Genovese basil. I always have a hard time saying that one. Genovese. Maybe you guys have ways of pronouncing that. If you ever want to let me know, I'm always up for learning. But the first thing I'm going to want to do is, because I've just filled this up, but I haven't really moistened it yet. So I'm going to give it a quick light watering. Not super wet, just enough to maybe get it ready, because as you can tell, it's kind of pool. Well, you might not be able to tell, but it's pooling a bit on the top because it's still really dry and hydrophobic. So I'm going to give it a quick little water and let that sit here on the tray for a moment while I start prepping my basil. Now, as you can tell, I'll give you a better view here. Sorry about that, guys. I accidentally hit the power button, but this will be a better view anyways. As you can tell, I've got multiple in here. At least, like, even multiple right here. So that's another environmental thing, is why I think this is having a tough time, because everything's overcrowded. So let's go back to the normal view so I can put the phone down. So I'm thinking that little mistake I had with the power button, should have at least bought this little cup here enough time to hopefully soak in some of that water. And just like I don't have any good YouTube equipment at the moment, a lot of my videos have been shot on a phone. I had a video camera, but unfortunately I've lost the power cord to it, and the regular cord doesn't seem to be transferring information, unfortunately. But instead, I'm going to be using this to hopefully dig up some of this. I happen to find this around. I'm going to use this to dig up some of the basil. I imagine you'd probably honestly have a better chance with this if you were using something like, I would think a fork, but I'm sure my family would not be very impressed with me if I was using a kitchen fork, and we don't typically have any type of, you know, uh, the ones you throw out. I'm spacing on that word, but I'm going to try to use the wrench to try getting as under all of these roots as I possibly can, because I want to keep as many of the roots intact as I possibly can, obviously. Um, Probably could have done a little better than this, but there are some roots, so I'm going to give it a shot and maybe try to separate this a wee bit, because I wanted to at least keep them alive so I can hopefully do a future video for everybody on propagating this, because I've always wanted to try propagating rather than just growing. And I've got it separated a bit, And I don't mind uh, having a few in there for now because I am probably going to do a further transplant as they grow better. But I just wanted to unclump the main balls for now to give them a little more space. And I'm kind of just trying to bury them as best I can to at least cover the roots, obviously. So if you've ever transplanted, this should be pretty simple for you then. And then I'm just gonna actually fill it up a wee bit more because I left a bit of a gap from the top. And I'm sure that'll help it keep stable, hopefully, as this starts to improve. Now, as I said, I'm probably going to do the transplants amongst throughout the rest of the day and then possibly tomorrow, but I do have a few other things I had to do today. Um, so I'm gonna give this a quick water while I talk to you to dampen it up a bit. But yeah, I'm gonna continue transplanting some of these for a bit, and hopefully they grow well. But if you stick around in a week or two or three or maybe a month, I'll keep you updated and let you know how this turns out. And I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for following along. And thanks for watching my 150th video. So I hope you're all doing well. Take care out there, and I hope you learned something here.